bigger musical conundrums of the past 15 years is the case of Otep. Otep, the female-fronted group that decided to go about fame a little bit differently. Instead of using sex appeal, she used poetry as well as some subject matter that was perhaps meant to scare some folks, but also meant to be relatable to those who went through it. Based off of this, Otep has been able to score a legion of fans, one that is certainly larger than some of the bands that have been talked down upon by this group. So, of course, based off of that, it's not all been good. Some of it has indeed been bad. But her controversial and unconventional rise to the top for even just a brief moment certainly garnered some attention and has certainly made her a little bit more of a, on-demand individual, to the point where she even did some voice acting work for one of the Hobbit movies. But let's take a look at Otep. There are certain people out there that just can never get into this band, maybe have tried and have just found something that they hate. Let's discover what those reasons are. Here are 5 reasons why people hate Otep. I'm adding a 6th. It sounds really close to Opeth and confuses my brain. But number 5, it's because Otep is a lesbian. Now, yes, this is 2017, a strange world of argument where everybody is really trying and aiming to tell everybody else that they should respect and love everybody else. And really, this is a basic concept that should have been learned since, I don't know, Genesis. However, it's not something that has happened, and based off of that, whenever Otep started to come onto the scene, people started to like the music, either that or they wanted to learn a little bit more about the band. And while a lot of us have open minds within the heavy metal industry and decide that somebody's orientation or the way in which they live their life is basically their business, there are many out there that are still very withdrawn within very conventional or I guess conservative beliefs that some of the activities of Otep were wrong, and based off of that, they simply couldn't be a fan. It sounds like it's something extremely silly, and that's principally because it is. However, here in 2017, we see the same amount of hatred being displaced one way or the other, especially on social media. It's something that you're seeing a lot more now in the visible radar as opposed to back then, where Facebook and other forms of social media were but a fleeting future idea. But even still, with that stupid idea in mind, it's a stupid reason to hate a band, but it's a stupid reason that some people have certainly used. Number 4, the Butcher Babies incident. This is an incident from earlier this year. I know there was one that was more recent. Trust me, we'll get to that. The Butcher Babies incident was one where apparently the Butcher Babies had wrote a song, Dead Poet, about Otep, and on an interview with on JB Josta's blog, she decided to go off, basically asking one of the members if they'd rather have their jaw broken or some other appendage, basically not giving them the opportunity to perhaps talk themselves out of it. Otep basically indicated that she wanted to assault one of the members and that the other one was just as bad, that they sound like shit every night, and the whole thing stemmed based off the fact that whenever the two were on tour together, Otep refused to go backstage and party with them and do cocaine. Now, Otep is one that stated that she has a straight-edge lifestyle and she doesn't do drugs, which is fair. You might ask, how in the world can something like this actually cause Otep to lose fans? Well, once again, we're in 2017 where very simple ideas or simple concepts are able to somehow trigger the public. Butcher Baby fans immediately are not going to be willing to go rogue and sample the Otep camp based around that, so you can flush that fan base down the toilet. And those that found Otep's reaction, especially after listening to this interview, to be a bit childish, will immediately distance themselves a little bit more from the music as well. Because remember, this is 2017, where it's not just about the music, it's also about all the other crap that you do. And that's what basically builds the foundation of whether or not you're liked or not. As dumb as that is, use an actual reason, like number 3, the music sucks. Yeah, this is one that is sort of the 50-50, the 50-50 idea that it comes with any sort of music. Now, with universal appeal, that means that there's actually a lot of people that are listening to your sound, and there's a lot of people, at least, that find it to be very favorable. However, with that level of fame or knowledge to the public also comes the opportunity for people to listen to the stuff and not like it all of that much. Otep's music is characterized very much as nu metal that has sort of like an art house spin on it. It's got violence that is very much perfectly, placed in it in order to try to really formulate or deliver a message. Otep uses poetry in order to try to get her themes out there, while at some points it can be a little bit sort of dancey, trying to discover exactly what the true informed meaning is. Anybody who has a little bit of study time or likes to read lyrics are able to quickly get some meaning out of it, even if it's not necessarily what Otep was originally intending. They are able to get some sort of meaning from it. However, most are just going to look at the music, and really, even with the poetic lyricism that does have some form to it, find it to be extremely difficult to get into. Either that or just not for them entirely. This is music that certainly should have a lot of great qualities to it, based off of all of the wonderful descriptors that have just been given. But whenever you listen to it, it just feels a little bit average. It feels benign. All of the fear is kind of washed out by the fact that most metal fans have listened to things that have a lot more gratuity to it, that have a lot more of that sort of over-the-top splatter to it. And based around that, what Otep is presenting just feels a little bit tame, especially since it's within the nu metal designation. Based off of that, a lot of people just simply don't want that in their lives because they feel it's too close to nu metal, and nu metal still does get a lot of hate. Either that, or it's just a music style or a band that's not for them. Not necessarily the worst thing in the world, not necessarily something that always brews into, I hate that band, but certainly something that has caused that for at least a few individuals. Number 2, the fan base. This isn't one that you see quite as vibrantly, so you might wonder why it's so high on the list. It's mainly for a couple of reasons. It's for piggybacking, for one, and the secondary reason is based off of sort of this looking or gazing upon Otep as some sort of messiah figure, of some sort of a very matriarchal matriarchal messiah, I suppose. It's a weird way to sort of look at things. The fan base of this band can be divided into a 50-50 side. You have those that are your typical casuals, and those that are exceptionally fanatical about this. They keep themselves relatively quiet, unless, of course, you know a lot of them. Then you see a lot of defense happening, especially whenever something happens to Otep. They immediately go to the defense and completely ignore some of the ideas that are being presented, some of the ways that you can see a flaw within the person in which you love. It's something that definitely does happen. We have a lot of problems sometimes in this society where we take somebody of celebrity status and immediately feel that they can do no wrong, that even whenever all of the evidence is there, that still is an impossibility. Take a look at the case of Michael Jackson, for example, as a perfect case and point for this idea. Some of the fan base, roughly 50%, perhaps even escalating to only 20% of the Otep fan base, is that way towards Shemaya. Definitely feeling like everything that she does is some sort of battle and in the right, that she's actually doing this for the rights of women, for the rights of animals, that she's doing it for the rights of the LGBT, she's doing it for the rights of vegans, she's doing it for the right of just being able to express yourself and being able to make your own rules. But we'll get to that even further, because number 1 is Otep Shemaya herself. Many people who have studied up on this band have immediately found Otep Shemaya, who is of course the front woman of this band, the person who started this project, whose name is basically right there on the band, and have learned a lot about her. Of course, as we discussed in number 5, some people couldn't handle the fact that she's a lesbian. Of course, some people can't handle LGBT, period. Some people can't handle vegans. They can't handle feminists. There's a lot of things that they can't handle. There's a lot of things that make people very angry and immediately want to distance themselves from people. However, whenever you throw yourself out there and sort of perpetuate each and every fear that has perhaps been within their minds, you don't exactly help your cause either. And case in point is this most recent status that we've seen with the band The Covalescence. This is something where it was stated that Otep was not allowing them to sell their merchandise during the Otep set, that they were basically being savagely mistreated, and that Otep, unless Otep was berating them, would not even cast an eye to them, even though this was one of the supporting acts that is on the current Otep tour. This is, of course, something that got massive circulation, considering many people said that at one point you yourself, Otep, were a small band whose livelihood was based around those shirt sales or those different sales that you got while the other bands were playing, or while you yourself were playing, while everybody was leaving to go to their vehicles and enjoy the remainder of their evening. However, this is not the only thing that has certainly perpetuated a lot of these negative feelings toward Otep. It's been also based around her attitude, based around the way in which it's being presented, basically telling these smaller bands, fuck you. You know, you have to do the struggle and the grind. Why are you coming on and sort of hitch into my coattails is essentially what you can get from that from a very PG variety. However, here's the thing. It's one of those things where also, as this voice, she's, and this is being argued by various other people, including Otep fans, she's kind of doing the exact opposite as to what she was campaigning for. She was using her voice in a massive way and basically saying that voices of other styles or other people were completely irrelevant. You know, those who are straight, those who are white. Basically, she can go and cry foul like this, and nobody's going to bat an eyelash. In fact, people are going to come on her side. However, if it was done by a straight and a white gentleman, this was something that certainly would have never been allowed to fly. It would have immediately been seen as some sort of sexual, discrimination. Either that or some sort of discrimination toward, choice of gender or choice of relationship type. This is just kind of getting crazy and out of control. Based around a lot of these items, and based around a lot of things that Otep has done throughout the years, or has conversed about throughout the years, many people have just simply ignored the band 100%, or have decided to cast judgment without hearing one singular note, principally because her opinions, her ideas, her image, her likeness has already entered into their brain as negative. Kind of like what would happen if Nancy Grace, decided all of a sudden to start a band, and somebody 5 years from now discovered Nancy Grace as she was doing a television show, and realized they didn't like her, only to find out that Nancy Grace is in a band. Immediately, they're not going to want to listen to the band. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. 5 reasons why people hate Otep. If you think there's something we missed, please tell me in the comments below. And if you think there's another band that needs roasted, toasted, and burnt to a crisp via 5 reasons, let me know as well. My name is coverkillernation, and I'm just going to say something right here at the end. coverkillernation, myself, and anybody else who's affiliated with me, we all have a great deal of respect and a great deal of love for everybody who is out there. Whenever I say that it's not very hard to just realize that we are all humans and that we all are beautifully different, I certainly mean that 100%. It doesn't matter what your lifestyle is. It doesn't matter what color you are or what gender you are. It's certainly something that should be stated that you have the ability to go out and live life and do something fantastic. Don't let anything stand in your way, and don't let anything stop you. Stop being so angry about everything else and focus on you and the things that you can do in order to really show what you have and show what you've got, to spread your wings and fly to the top. Come on, this is what we need. It's 2017. We are, such an angry society right now. Let's flip that around and actually do some work to do some repair and make sure that the world that we have whenever we're a little bit older and perhaps, a little bit less able to be angry or, mobile, is one that we actually want to live in and not take ourselves out with cyanide pills. Come on, let's give it a shot at least. But yeah, I love all of you guys. I love all of you girls. I love all of you who are trans, who are bi, whatever you decide. I love you. I'm glad that you're here. I hope that you liked the video. Take care.